it's Guido coming back at you with another Tactics Talk. Thanks for tuning in on this episode. I am in my Lorraine 40T. I am on proc and I spawned the south spawn, headed over to the west side. Gonna see if I can get any snapshots into the scouts that might be surfing right there, and just did that to let you see the initial deployment. This one is titled, You Cannot Play That Way. You cannot play that way. Except that so many people do. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you're going to play the way you see this team plays, then you have to expect losses. And if you're one of these people, and I'm going to describe it as we go, who plays in the manner that this team played, and you don't understand why your stats are bad or why you're losing, then you really need to start paying attention to things like this, because there's a reason, and the reason is your deployment is horrendously bad. And if you are not going to the important spots yourself and learning how to fight them, you're not growing or getting better, and you never ever will. You can camp in the back and get about a 53%, 52% win rate with a decent win rate, and you can sit around and tell yourself that you're doing a good job, but you're not, because you're not growing and you're not getting better. I have gone over proc a million times. This is not necessarily specifically about proc, and we're going to talk about the type of deployment that you see right here and what happens when you do so. So we get some scouts out here. I'm able to get a shot there on the T-49. I think we actually might even come close to kill him. Eventually we'll kill that guy. We got the even 90s trolling across the middle, and you can see that we got a pretty good crowd going over to the hill, and it doesn't look bad right now. We got a good crowd going to the 1-2. But I think the most critical mistake right now is there's nobody on the 5-6 controlling the fight over there. Now, I didn't immediately go there in my Lorraine, because the Lorraine is not a great tank for going over there. Very soft. There is a big artillery. They have some tanks with decent depression. I had visions of the T-57 coming over and absolutely clipping me out. But I noticed the T-57 has gone over to the east side, so I'm going to go up and head up here to the 5-6 and try to at least make a presence up here, so if we get guys lit on the hill, we can take shots. Now what you're going to notice for our hill guys is they're going to go up to a camping spot. And although it is up on the hill, it is a camping spot up on the hill. So I get spotted right there. Unfortunately, something sees me, so I've got to do a little evasive maneuvering for the artillery. And you'll notice that the hill has stopped, right? They all kind of drove up there, and you would expect maybe some of them to drive up and get some spotting here so that we can get that symbiotic relationship going here. Additionally, you'd have expected somebody a little bit further up over here on the 1-2 line, but they're all in the back corner, all on the back side of the hill sniping, and then there's, I don't know what exactly is going on right here, but it's something interesting hanging out back here at this corner. There is just simply nobody forward, nobody attempting to have a positive effect, offensive effect on the game. So there is a shot coming in there, and that's one of the reasons why the bad players are sitting there, right? They occasionally get a shot into an unfortunate or silly red guy who comes up a little too high, right? And maybe if the red guys push up over the hill, they might get some free shots right there, hold down, but they are completely and utterly relying on the enemy team to do something. So I'm just going to sit in this bush for a moment and see how this develops. They do have some guys come over top. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. A shot on one of these guys. I'll come up a little higher, see if I can get one in. Nope, it's going to hit the building, of course. Why wouldn't it? All right, there we go. We got a 57. That's a bounce. Why wouldn't it be? One more, and then we'll back out. No reason to stay there too much longer. There's still ELCs raging around, and there goes the LTTB, hit by a bloody IS-3. So now I'm on a reload, and I'll just hang out in this bush right here for a moment. The 4502 has at least gone forward, so let's see what we've got. The 4502 and myself are the only two guys working this ridge. Where's the scouts? Well, the WZ's right here, so that's extremely useful. The LTTB was at least trying to do his job. He gets killed. These guys are all in a corner, and they have a little ELCS driven in, and they are all being lit up. And everything on this line is absolutely having a field day on these guys. These guys are now learning why it is that you need eyes forward. And probably every one of them is now blaming the scouts or the mediums or something on their loss. Wish they'd be right to a large extent. The Type 4 is now driving up the middle on the 8 line. Finally getting reloaded. And I'm in a really bad position. I've talked about this multiple times, and it's not even necessarily just this map, but in this position right here, or a position on any map where you are forward but your flank has lost and there are shots on you, you're in big trouble. Because once they spot you there, it's so open, I'm just never going to get away. I'm not fast enough. I can't go up and over this. There's no hard cover to get behind. I might be able to get into the bushes and get unspotted, but more than likely I get wrecked before that. So right now, I'm more or less dying in place. I probably should have left early, but now we've got this Type 4 driving up. And if I move away from these bushes, he's going to actually spot me. Now that's helpful. Finally get some shots coming across. See the 50-100 or 120, and I get a shot on him, and I miss. Naturally, why wouldn't I? And now I'm feeling very exposed because you know there are guys coming up the 1-2 line. I was just spotted. Somebody's going to poke up over that road and start taking shots. There's the ELC. And really, that's one of the biggest problems. Those scouts right there are just a massive issue for us. The only thing that goes really right on this particular game is this poor Challenger gets out in the open, or Charioteer, sorry, gets out in the open, and I'm able to kill him. We're in big trouble. It's 2-6, and let's take a look again at the positioning of what's going on back here. They're all on the back side still. All right, we're 2-6. Something has to happen, but none of them have done it. Somebody needed to be up there spotting these guys so I could get shots. I needed some more help on the middle right here. This WZ needed to be helping control the middle, and especially controlling over on this side because the LTTB is doing okay here, but the 4202 is fine. He's good for opportunistic pops and shots over there, but you needed a scout kind of keeping them honest from driving right down the line there, which they did. Now they've just completely eaten up everything right there. I'm going to get into this bush. Looking for a reload. I'd love to pop up and take shots at those guys, but I can't. I've still got a Type 4 heavy, and unfortunately I get spotted right there. And the ELC gets a snap on me. That was fantastic. There's a T95 whacking me, and this is exactly what I was talking about. The problem would be with being here. Hey, I got a hit on him, but of course it was blocked. And at this point it's all over but the shouting. Trying to get away, and this is the illustration of what I was talking about. I'm even in spotting range. If you look at the circle of the T95, there's an ELC up there, there's a Type 4. I'm actually going to get spotted right here, and that T95 just whack takes me down. It's all over, and I'm dead. A whole 1100 damage, 252. And what's amazing, and this is also pretty typical of bad players, is they don't really move or do anything until they recognize it's a complete disaster. And that's actually a good thing, that they recognize they had to do something about what was going on. The unfortunate part is they recognize it way too late, and even worse than that, they didn't do anything at the beginning to make sure that didn't happen. Even just one guy up here keeping them honest and spotted. The Centurion, for example, would have been a fantastic one. The 7-1 with his great turret. Even the Defender with all his armor. The 110E5 is I'm not as excited about. He's much taller and able to get hit. But even the 110E5 coming up here, he's got more hit points and more armor. Spotting these guys on the back edge and keeping them honest, allowing me to get shots and ideally a few others down here. This entire game changes with just a few people doing something other than sitting back and letting the rest of the team take the risks and attempt to win the game. And this just ends up being a raffle stump from a lot of players refusing to be the guy who helps the team win, wanting to be the guy who sits back and snipes. And they've all got reasons, right? They're not very good, all the way down to the I'm a sniper. You've probably seen that in the forums, people talking about, well, I like to sit back and snipe. The Centurion's a sniper, blah, blah, blah. Well, no tank is necessarily just a sniper or a brawler or whatever. Some of them have strengths in that area, but the real question is, what does the team need right then? And the position you're in, what does that position need right then? So it's a tactic, not a strategy. Just a really good illustration here of what I call, and a lot of people call, I happen to call it as well, a deployment loss. the team deployed terribly, put themselves on their back heel from the very beginning, and it was going to be extremely tough to win this game unless the enemy team just did a really poor job or some of our snipers had a spectacular game. And that simply doesn't happen very often because you're not playing the odds when you deploy poorly and expect the enemy team to do a bad thing. That's just gimping yourself from the beginning. All right, and that is the end of that one. You cannot play that way unless you want to lose. We will see you.